There are a few things that human beings need to survive, really, home, water, and food. And so the ability to grow your own food is just so freeing. Growing Dome is a 4-season, year-round greenhouse that allows most folks to be able to grow pretty much anything they want in their backyard. The idea is self-reliance and sustainability. So they're geodesic domes. That's important for a number of reasons, primarily being strength and longevity. So the domes themselves can withstand up to 7 feet of snow on top of them. They'll withstand about 180 km/h wind speeds. They're bolted into the ground, they don't move anywhere. And the idea is that in some of the harshest climates that you can still rely on yourself to grow all your own food. So one of the best things about the greenhouse is that it's off-grid. So the greenhouses rely on solar passive heating. We have a thermal mass of water in the back of the greenhouse in the north wall. On top of that, there's the solar ventilation, and what that does is it allows for anybody, anywhere, to basically put one up in their backyard and not require electrical service. It uses the sun to heat itself, cool itself, and run all of its internal functions. So basically we have the foundation, which can be concrete or gravel, really depends on what the environment calls for. And then it's constructed out of the strut material, which is a lumber. We prefer to use some beautiful Western red cedar, especially in the greenhouse. It lasts in the humidity. We build our own custom hub system, which connects all of the struts and helps build our dome structure. And then we sheath the entire thing in a polycarbonate material, which is a multi-wall, about a 1/2 inch thick plastic material, which is translucent, lets the sun in, but keeps all the snow, the wind, and the pests out. The greenhouse panels, the polycarbonate panels, are really important for a lot of things. They have a high R value for their structure, 1.6, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for a greenhouse, that's huge. They also have a really low U value, which means that they don't hold cold. So even in the middle of the winter, you can touch them and they still feel warm to the touch. That really helps with the plant life on the inside. On top of that, they're hail resistant. Unlike glass, you can't throw a rock through it. The other amazing thing about these guys, the polycarbonate panels, is that they're 100% recyclable. So any scrap that we have from our production, or if any client needs these replaced, we cut them down into strips, and we actually have a polymer recycler that we work well with. They take them, they chip them, they melt them back down into feed pellets, and a brand new sheet can be made out of an old sheet. This is one of the solar fans that we have basically controlling the internal temperature of the greenhouse. This solar panel can be tilted up or down to catch more or less sunlight, and it's directly mounted to this intake fan underneath. They have thermostats and they have shut-off remotes and timers. The idea is you don't need to bring in electrical service. You don't need to bring in hydro lines and trench them. You can if you want to, but this option allows anyone to put one up anywhere in the world and survive off-grid. We're at a client's location about an hour away from our shop here. On this particular build, they went with 3 different domes. We're going to take you on a tour of a 42-foot model, one of our largest, so follow me. Welcome to the inside of Growing Dome. This is late September here, but we're still 35 degrees plus in the greenhouse. The plants, as you can see, still growing like crazy. We've got all sorts of goodies growing, from fruits to exotics to flowers to vegetables and butterflies. So just a beautiful area. Directly above us, we have this shade cloth. It's actually made out of aluminum, which is really cool. So it's really lightweight, it won't degrade or hold heat, which is most important. We hang them up basically to create a shaded effect on certain plants so they aren't getting the full intensity of the sun. We've come on back to the north side of our greenhouse, where we have our reflectix wall on the north wall, pointing down to a large pool of water, which acts as a giant thermal mass. It's pretty straightforward. The way that this works is in the summer, when the sun is higher in the sky, it's getting less direct sunlight and acts as a cooling agent. When the sun is lower in the sky in the winter, it reflects all of the sunlight down into here to warm it up. So we've done the math, and it's equivalent to basically running a 40,000 BTU heater, just using the sun's energy. So we capture that, we hold it in here, and that's what allows us to grow 4 seasons and year round. The best part about all of this is that they're actually passive solar pools. So this technology functions every day the sun rises. On either side of the pool, we have pipes coming up, going underground and running the inner perimeter of the greenhouse, and then coming up again on the other side of the pool. This undersoil geothermal fan system is again solar powered. We include solar panels and everything else so that it runs off grid again. What this does in the summertime is it pulls the cool air from the pool underneath your garden and your root beds, cooling them down, and vice versa in the wintertime, pulls that heat again and warms everything up for you. Here's the nuts and bolts, so to speak, no pun intended, of what holds this entire structure together. This hub system is made of a marine grade aluminum, held together with galvanized bolts and Western red cedar struts with the polycarbonate on the outside. Basically what you're looking at is the strength of the structure itself. The angles of the struts coming into the hubs allow for even more weight to support it on top and on top and on top until we finally close that pattern up. Here's the inside look on the solar fan. Each greenhouse is sized with a different CFM rating, meaning the cubic feet a minute of air exchange required. So each greenhouse comes with different amounts of fans. Depending on where you are and what you want to do, it doesn't have to be raised beds. You could do hugelkultur, you could do mounds, you could plant directly into the ground if you build on good soil. So it's super open to whichever design you're most comfortable with and familiar with. You know, depending on how you grow your food, you can really see different results. So if you are your average green thumb, you're used to growing in raised beds, a 42-foot model like this is enough to feed 12 people. We've had different setups where people are growing vertically and hydroponically, and that just increases your output exponentially. Then you're able to meet, 100 or 150 people's daily requirement for greens by growing hydroponically. This dome, what it does is it creates an environment for year-round production to occur. Without lights in the wintertime, you're still going to be able to grow a large variety of crops, lots of leafy greens and herbs and anything else which doesn't require such intense light to start a fruiting process. If you want to have things like tomatoes and cucumbers and all of these different energy dense foods grow year round, you're probably going to require a lighting system to make that happen. But the geodesic dome with the passive thermal is going to create that growing environment so you don't necessarily have to worry about heat as much. This dome's a little bit different than the other one. This one's focused on veg production. Same style, same setup as the 42 in terms of total square footage, but as you can see, very different layout in terms of veg production. We've got a cantaloupe that's trying to take over. We've got tomatoes growing up to the ceiling, peas and beans and pods everywhere. Same pool in the back of the greenhouse. This one designed to produce though. A lot of folks will grow aquatic veg in them. They've started their aquatic journey with growing a number of different plant species back there. You can grow aquatic species, you could raise fish. One of the amazing things about the growing dome, utilizing this pool in the back of the greenhouse, with 3 to 4 hours of sunlight in the wintertime, we can have about a 30-degree temperature difference inside versus out. So if it's negative 15 degrees outside and it's sunny, you're seeing 15 to 20 degrees inside, no matter what time of year that is. That's with zero supplemental heat. If you're a little bit further north and you're worried that maybe negative 40, negative 50 is just too much, some clients find that it's really beneficial to add a small stock tank heater or add a small wood stove or add solar vacuum tubes. There's a ton of different options. So the last couple domes we've been looking at are predominantly based on plant life. This dome, located on the same property, has a different focus in mind. It's more about Zen and yoga. So let's take a peek inside. The idea of this one is to be able to have a retreat, to be able to get away from it all and enjoy kind of this quiet, quaint, earthy place right in your backyard. One of the other things that we're offering now, which is amazing, is skylights. So being able to, lay on your back and meditate and watch the clouds roll by or camp out overnight and watch the Milky Way go over top of you, it's just a great way to feel even closer to nature. We have to design greenhouses that perform well in about 5 different growing zones, right? Here in this growing zone, which is 5A, we have temperature ranges that go from negative 40 in the winter all the way up to plus 40 in the summertime. So as far as a greenhouse goes, there's tons of challenges involved with keeping it cool enough and keeping it warm enough. This is a spray-on bicarbonate material. It's pH neutral, which means that when it washes off into the plant beds or anything like that, it doesn't affect your soil, it doesn't poison your plants or anything. It's a natural product, but it also allows for 70% less sunlight and heat and energy to get into the greenhouses. If we were further north, say in a 4 or 3A, it would be very different. You wouldn't require this. It naturally washes off with the rain, so depending on how wet the season is, you might have to apply more than one coating. So you mix it together in a spray bottle and you can hand apply. In the winter, when we are dealing with the colder climate, this shading agent isn't required, and so that's when we would apply the washing agent to make sure that that's all off. The greenhouses perform well through the winter. Polycarbonate paneling goes on to the struts. However, the challenge is we need to weather seal it and make sure that water can't get in. We use this remarkable tape membrane. It's an aircraft tape actually used in the aerospace industry. It's 100% clear. You can hardly see it on this panel. It's UV resistant as well, so it's rated for up to 10 years, and it weather and water seals the greenhouses themselves. The polycarbonate paneling also has a UV coat on it as well, so the harsh UV rays don't get through. You can work all day long in the greenhouse. You might be hot, but you won't be sunburned. The domes themselves are so powerful and so unique. We spend our days constantly in square boxes. You step into a place like this, you realize there not really isn't a beginning and an end to it. It's kind of this constant flowing circle. Funny enough, I grew up on a farm and couldn't wait to get away, and went away to school and took a business degree, and first thing I did is ran back home and started a greenhouse company. So food is really, really personal to me. When you're growing it yourself and you're harvesting it and keeping it, it's so rewarding. And for me to be able to wake up every day and create and make a product like this, which allows people to do that, it's a dream come true. We're called Arctic Acres. We build greenhouses for the Canadian climate, but we're not alone. We have a fantastic partner. Their name is Growing Spaces. They're in Colorado in the United States. They've existed for 30 years. They're wonderful folks. So together we want to bring these geodesic domes across North America.
Please share this video if you liked it. Also, be sure to subscribe to Exploring Alternatives and check out our playlists for more stories like this. Thanks for watching.